Alrighty, good morning, everybody. My name is James, and I'm excited to be with you all for another edition of AgeProof Your Body. So for today's class, this is going to be a Pilates class. And in alignment with our monthly theme of heart health for February, we're going to be diving into Pilates specifically with a heart health focus. So this week in our newsletter, we sent out some info diving a little deeper into heart health, specifically sharing the 8 essentials or life's essential 8 as put out by the American Heart Association, covering 4 behaviors and 4 health factors that are important for overall health. So these include eating well, sleeping well, moving well, and quitting smoking, as well as managing cholesterol, managing blood sugar, managing blood pressure, and managing weight. So combining each of those 4 into the life's essential 8 gives you this kind of overall look at health, specifically heart health, as put out by the American Heart Association. So the article that we sent out in our newsletter has links to each of those infographics for each of those areas. But thinking today with a heart health focus, of course we focus on exercise, but there's so much else we can be doing to promote our heart health with our diet, our sleep, avoiding, smoking, and looking at those 4 factors as things to mark and things to track over time with the help of your doctor. So if any of those kind of appeal to you, you want to learn more, you're interested in them, feel free to check out that newsletter and specifically those infographics, which are really, really helpful. Okay, so today, again, we're going to be pulling the lever of exercise. And without further ado, why don't we get up and start moving? Specifically, just getting the body warm, getting the body loose. I'm going to adjust my camera just a second here. But as I introduce today's class, feel free to get your space set up, get your body warm. You can walk in place. You can swing those arms. You can do some arm circles. And you can start to arrange your space, which will need a stable chair. We're going to start today's class in sitting. We're then going to go to the floor. So we'll need a mat, maybe a cushion for your head, a pillow for your head. We'll also be kneeling or being on hands and knees. So that mat can be helpful to support the knees. And then grab some water. We won't need any weight today. Pilates is great, partially because it's a lot of what we can do is body weight only. So we'll do some body weight exercises today. No need for weight. And that's about it. So as we're kind of getting warmed up, let's just review. Pilates should feel a little bit like dance, like an intentional, a purposeful dance. It's great for heart health because the movements some of them are low intensity, but other ones are really going to challenge our core and our other body parts moving in coordination that might feel like moderate to high intensity. So for today's class, we'll go through each of these 4 positions: sitting, lying down, kneeling, and then back up to standing. And each of those is going to have a little bit of mobility and then a little bit of stability. Combining those, of course, gives us a good heart challenge and promotes all the other factors with Pilates in mind. Pilates is very much focused on this part of the body, the trunk, the spine. We involve other parts of the body kind of in context of what's happening at the spine. Is the spine stable? Is the spine mobile? So we'll think about kind of today's class with all the movements focused on our heart health. Heart is arguably our most important organ, and exercise is one of the best ways that we can promote its long-term health. So that'll be our focus for today. Let's get right into things. I want to make sure we have enough time for the very end where I'm going to show you an 8-minute EMOM. We're going to go 2 exercises in each of those positions that will cover throughout the first part of today's class, and then we'll wrap up at the end for an EMOM. Okay, hopefully you're a little bit more warm. You can grab some water and then grab that chair, and we'll set up for our seated work. And if this is your first Pilates class, welcome. If this is you're not your first, welcome back. Just going to make sure I have the chat bar open just in case anybody wants to ask a question there. But Pilates is a great exercise for heart health, great one for obviously posture and strength. And it's a good challenge to work on the purpose behind our movement, as well as kind of frame everything inside of this whole body commitment to better health. So thinking about Pilates and starting with a little bit of mobility in sitting. I'm going to make sure I have my whole body in the frame here. Go ahead and grab that seat, and we're going to be scooted forward so that we're not all the way back into the chair. We want to be sitting forward and sitting up tall. And we'll do a cat-cow to begin. Cat-cow is a flexion movement forward. I'm going to have our arms out in coordination with our body reaching forward, and then arching back and opening the arms out to the side. The side view is probably a lot more helpful here. So starting tall and then rounding your back backwards, almost as if I'm reaching my mid back towards the wall behind me or towards the back of the chair, as my arms round like I'm hugging a big tree. And then I sit up tall, arch my back slightly. Imagine I'm being pulled up to the ceiling and my arms open out to the side. Let's go through that a few times. With our breathing, we're going to exhale as we reach. We're going to inhale as we open. And time that with your breathing. Find a pace that works well for you. The breathing should facilitate the movement. And with this mobility exercise, we're thinking about each of the spinal segments moving. So see if you can move your pelvis back, rocking your pelvis back, your low back, and then tuck your chin around your neck. Your whole back should sort of resemble a nice C. And as you keep moving here for another, let's say 3 reps, think about going a little bit further and a little bit further. Good. And last one, exhaling on the round, inhaling on the arch. Good. And we relax. Next, we're going to go over some rotation. So arms across your shoulders, and we're going to rotate to one side and then the other side. Let's start actively. Active range of motion is how much can I do on my own using my own muscles. You can think about how far you get. I get to this corner of my room, and then if I go to the other side, I may be able to get a little bit further. Of course, if your body is, feeling tight or something kind of sticks out at you muscle-wise as you go through this, just make note of it, and let's see if we can kind of work it out as we move today. So that's active range. Now let's use our hands to potentially make ourselves stretch a little bit further. So rotating to one side, but see if you can anchor your arms either on your leg or the back of the chair and hold it there for a second. Take a nice inhale breath. Think about inhaling into the side that you're reaching to. Stay for the exhale. See if you can relax into a deeper stretch using your arms to push you slightly further. And then let's bring it on back. So one deep breath at the end of the range. Let's go to the other side. Go as much as you can, and then use your hands to just give you a little bit more of a passive stretch. Inhale into that side that we're stretching toward. And exhale. Stay for the stretch. And then bring it on back. Let's try that one more time to each side. the imagery in Pilates is important. Each spinal segment working together and moving appropriately. I want you to imagine wringing out a towel, and that towel is your spine. You're going to think about wringing it out and then give it a little bit of pressure with your hands, whatever feels comfortable. Take that inhale breath. That exhale, you stay, add a little bit more stretch, get that last bit of water out of that towel wringing. Good. And then back to the middle. Another one to the other side, rotating, get as much as you can, plant the arms, add a little bit of an extra twist. Bonus points if you hear a click or a pop. Sometimes that's a good, most of the time that's a good thing. If it's painful, we want to listen to it, but our bodies make all sorts of noise and we might feel it here. Stay for that exhale breath and then bring it on back. Towel, wringing. Again, thinking about this articulation, each bit of our spine moving a little bit so that, it's spread across all of our spine. We have an economic and efficient amount of movement. Okay, so that's our mobility focus in sitting. Now let's go to stability. Stability, we're going to focus on keeping an upright posture while we move our arms and legs. The upright posture is essentially thinking that there's a string on the back of my head and I'm being suspended from the ceiling. So it's this little bit of elongation, but then it's the muscle action to keep yourself elongated. So think about kind of reaching to the ceiling and thinking about what muscles might be active to keep you there. These muscles are in the core, but they're also in the head and neck. I want you to just take a look at my chin here. I'll give you a closer look with this chin tuck movement. So I don't want you to be loose looking kind of up. I want you to be tucked a little bit, the chin down. And that sort of feels like it's coordinated to that string pulled to the back of your head. Another good imagery is, what if I was holding a peach right here, a big, juicy peach? I don't want to squeeze that juice out of the peach. I just want to hold it in place. And the peach is big enough so that it's not here, but it's here. And I'm holding that peach, sort of the same feeling as being drawn up to the ceiling. So that's kind of working our way down. That's the chin piece, holding a peach. Chest, while we're here, open, squeezing the shoulder blades back behind you. And then that elongation of the spine is sort of me reaching up to the ceiling and then using my core muscles to keep me there. See if you can find that, feel that, and then we'll add some movement. The last thing I'll mention is drawing the belly button in creates this corset action of the abdominals. That's where we want to spend a lot of time, is thinking about drawing the belly button in, almost like I'm pulling on a pair of tight pants. I'm tightening up the midsection here, and that is hopefully me still able to breathe, still able to keep my posture. It's not, I'm working as hard as I can, but it's a gentle activation to stabilize my spine. As we do that, let's add a march. Marching with our legs. Don't have to lift up a whole lot, just lift up a little bit. And you want to keep everything the same, so don't lose your trunk elongation. Keep yourself nice and tall. And you should feel your abdominal muscles working here. See if you can keep that peach under your chin. And if you're feeling good with this, you could either do hands on head as another reminder to push your head up into your hands. You can think about arms even overhead as another challenge. Might be a little bit more challenging. You could also move in conjunction with the opposite arm, or the opposite leg rather. So as one leg lifts, you punch up towards the ceiling. This gives you a little bit of coordination between arms and legs. It might challenge your brain a little bit. So baseline is sort of here, arms down by your side or across the chest. But see if you can keep your posture the same as you're reaching and marching. Good. Another 5 seconds. Keep working. Good. And then a little break. Let things relax. The pace of today's class, you may already tell, is we're going to be kind of moving throughout. Hopefully we're following along with the visual here, but we're doing a little bit of mobility, then a little bit of stability in each position. Let's talk about breathing real quick as we're kind of catching our breath. Breathing in Pilates, we want to think about is isolated in the lower part of the rib cage. So we want to think about the rib cage moving out into our hands and then back. So put your hands there. If you can feel it, great. Think about breathing into the lateral part or the outside part of the rib cage. You may feel this type of movement, just a subtle expansion and then a contraction. That inhale breath, you want to build in some pressure underneath your hands. That exhale breath, you might feel your outer abdominals here working to kind of stabilize. On an exhale, if you blow out air, like you're blowing out birthday candles, that's a good way to turn on your abdominal muscles. A good visual is this funnel almost that you're creating with your abdominals as your rib cage contracts in on itself or kind of comes back together. See if you can imagine that funneling on an exhale. That funneling kind of goes down towards my belly button, and I might feel my abdominal muscles working a little bit. In Pilates, exhale is great for the exertion part. Inhale is good for the preparation or the extension. So extending, lengthening, or preparing to move, exhaling to move. Okay, let's bring that together in another exercise that's pretty fundamental to Pilates, which is called the 100. 100 involves arm movement in coordination with our breath. Specifically, we're going to take 5 sips of air inhaling and then exhaling 5 sips of air out. So it'll be inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Your inhale is divided into these 5 bursts that are in coordination with every time my hand moves down. Hopefully that makes some sense, but let's practice all together. Hundreds are usually performed on the ground, but doing them in sitting is a great place to practice. I'm going to go from the side just to visualize that a little bit more. So starting tall, maybe leaning back a little bit to feel that front of the body work, the core muscle in the abdominals. And then why don't we start our count, and we'll just go inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale through the nose, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through the mouth, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do one more cycle. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 3, 4, 5. Okay, hopefully that made sense. We're breathing in coordination with our arm movements. That inhale is meant to keep us long. The exhale is meant to activate our core muscles and our abdominals like we focus with this funnel movement. We're going to do one more round of those. We're going to do 100. So 5 in, 5 out, 10 times total. We may lose track. I want you to count on your own. I'm going to do my best to count up to 10. This should take us about a minute. So we'll plan on doing this for a minute. And then I'm going to offer a different level if you want to level things up a little bit. So I had you leaning back a little bit. If you want, lift up a leg. At the halfway mark, we can switch sides. lift up the other leg. So it'll be a little bit more challenging to keep your sitting balance as you're doing this with one leg or the other. It actually doesn't matter, if you switch halfway or if you switch, a quarter of the way. The level up from this is to lift up a leg and to keep your posture. 1 minute or so is on the clock. We're going to count to 100, 5 in, 5 out, 10 times with our seated hundreds. Starting in 3, 2, 1. I'm switching sides. Keep your posture. And go ahead and finish up. I think that took me about 45 seconds, but we'll wait another 10 seconds or so. If you want to keep going, feel free. Okay, so go ahead and wrap up. That is our seated 100s, and I'll count. We'll do that again in the laying position to work against gravity. But that's a great way to introduce this idea of tall posture, keeping the posture, working on our flapping movement as a way to challenge our core stability further. And that'll be it for our seated exercises. So when we do our seated EMOM, or rather our EMOM later, the 2 seated exercises that we're going to do are cat-cow. We're going to do 1 minute there. And then we're going to do 1 minute of our marches. So save those in the long-term memory for just 2 exercises in sitting that are great for Pilates. One of them, the mobility, cat-cow. One of them, the stability, marches. Sound good? We'll come back to that at the end. All right, let's lay onto the floor. So get your chair out of the way. And I'm going to drop my camera down to the floor. We'll hope this works. And grab some water as well if you need some. Getting onto the floor, of course, there's lots of different ways to do it. Hopefully by now you have an idea of what might work best for you. Use furniture, use the kneeling position, use a squat. Whatever method works best for you, we'll get down to the floor. I do want you to focus on me for the first minute or so. I'm going to go through almost all the exercises so you can have a visual of it, and then I'll talk us through what we'll do specifically. So feel free to glance at the camera and see what I'm doing here. I'm going to start in my laying down position, face up, and we're going to go over 2 mobility exercises and then 3 or 4 stability exercises. The mobility, we're going to do pelvic tilts, and we're going to do an articulated bridge, which is a pelvic tilt into a bridge where we're thinking about all the movements, all the spinal segments moving individually. When we lower down, it's the same thing, lowering down top to bottom. So that's our 2 mobility exercises, which I'll explain. And then our stability exercises, we'll do marches, which we've done before. We'll do hundreds, same as we did in sitting. And then we'll work on a couple exercises related to this roll back. So I'll get there later. Okay, so let's meet on the floor, onto your back. Knees are bent up. Feet are flat on the floor. Take a moment here just to recognize your breathing and remember that lateral rib cage style. You can put your hands there if you can. Breathe out into your hands a couple breath cycles. That exhale, maybe we think about that corset action at our belly button area. Inhaling and exhaling. Okay, let's start our pelvic tilts. For pelvic tilting, we'll think about our pelvis as a bowl that's facing up towards the ceiling. We're going to roll that bowl toward us, flattening our back, and then roll it away from us, arching our back toward and away. It might help to have your hands maybe on your pelvis, feeling the two outer hip bones or front of your pelvis, just to guide those. You know, if you imagine those are headlights, those headlights are going to turn up as you roll back into this posterior pelvic tilt. The anterior pelvic tilt is this arch, and my headlights dip down as my low back is arched. So go through that. Keep it moving here. This should feel like a great stretch for the lower back. A lot of times that's an area where we just don't have a lot of practice moving, the pelvis moving individually and in isolation. So this is a great time to practice that. We did a little bit of that in the cat-cow, but now we're isolating the pelvis. Okay, let's take a little break there. That's our pelvic tilt. Now we're going to turn that into an articulating bridge or Pilates bridge. I mean, I've heard it a few different times, but a Pilates bridge, in my case, is going to be an articulated bridge, one segment moving at a time. Think about a string of pearls. Your spine is a string of pearls, and we're lifting it from the tail end. That means that the pelvis comes up first. After we tilt back, we round, and then we lift the pelvis, and then our low back, and then our mid back. And finally, right at the top is like our upper back. When we lower, it's top to bottom. Mid back, low back, and then pelvis finally unlocks. So let's go through a couple minutes here, working at your own pace. First, feeling that pelvic tilt back, pushing the legs away to lift the low back off the floor, then the mid back, and then lowering down. You're almost placing top to bottom each one of those string of pearls back down. Hopefully you're able to do this mostly pain-free. If there are some areas that are causing pain here, maybe you move through a pain-free range. Though there might be some segments that are just sort of like new feeling or like maybe discomfort or stretch. In that case, see if you can work through those and kind of see if that stretch gets better as you practice it a little bit more, because this does allow us to feel an individual stretch at most of our body move, at most of our spinal segments. I'll have everybody kind of meet at the bottom for one more like group opportunity here to coordinate our breath. And with our breathing, I want you to only breathe out as we move. So take an inhale to prepare. You'll exhale, going all the way up. If you need more air, you just pause where you're at, get some more air, and then keep exhaling as you move. At the top, you inhale to prepare. Exhale, you start to move down, lowering top to bottom. Nice and easy here. Mobility, a little bit of stability with holding some parts stable while other parts are moving. Inhaling to prepare. Exhaling as we move. Inhaling as we pause at the top. Exhaling back down. Good. Let's go for another minute or so. I'm just going to pop over, make sure people are moving appropriately. Looks good. Barbara looks good. Chris looks good. It's every bit of your spine working together. Good. Bonnie looking good as well. Chris and Ruth, good. So finish up that last one or two articulating bridges. Again, this should feel like a nice massage to now the low back, but also the mid back maybe. And again, if it feels uncomfortable, see if you can go maybe a lesser range or a little bit different, pace. You go a little bit slower, working out some of those kinks. Okay, very nice. Those are our mobility exercises in supine. The one that we'll add to our EMOM is the articulating bridge. So we'll come back to those. Now let's work on stability. Feet flat on the floor. Let's add a march. One leg lifting off the floor and then lowering, the other leg lifting and lowering. Nice and easy here. What we should feel is our core. Think about anchoring the low back to the floor, keeping that tightness in the front of the stomach and the abs, and then keep your breath steady. Inhaling into our lateral rib cage, exhaling, funneling back down, keeping that tension in the abs. This is level one, marching up and then down, up, down. Level two, if you want to try it, is up, up, down, down. So one leg lifts, the other leg lifts. That's the hard part. Lowering down and the other lowers down. So as we keep going here, see if you can keep it moving either with this level two, up, up, down, down, or level one is up, down, up, down. Keep it going here. Keep that low back anchored. You can even tuck your chin, place your head as high as you can, and keep it there. That tension in the body, that peach squeezed in the neck. Keep breathing. Arms can be down by your side, or they can be on your abdominal muscles to tell them to keep working. Good, keep it up. Let's go another 10 seconds. Nice. And relax. Very good. A little breather, catch your breath. This is where you may start to feel heart health. Of course, we're using our muscles, using our core, but our heart is responsible for pumping the necessary oxygen and nutrients to those working muscles. We're going to go into hundreds now. So hundreds, we have a few options. We know how it looks at its core, which is legs are actually going to be lifted or lowered, or maybe you just have one lifted. So that's our level breakdown. Level one, level two, maybe lift one and then switch halfway. Level three, both legs up. Only difference here in lying down is that I want your head and neck to be off the ground just a little bit, if you can. Still holding the peach, tucking the chin. We're going to keep this slight elevation of the upper back as I flap my arms with or without my legs lifted. And here's my 100. So see if you can get into that and just practice for like 15 seconds or so. Inhaling for 5. Pick your level position. And if you get tired, feel free to drop the legs. And if it gets hard for the upper body, just drop the trunk as well. And we can flap from here. Inhaling, we're thinking about sipping air through our nose. Exhaling, we're blowing out 5 candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's get that together. So hopefully you found your level. We'll shoot for about 45 seconds. We're going to count to 100. So 5 in, 5 out, 10 times in our preferred position. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, and we lift and begin. About halfway. I'm finished. There's 45 seconds. Keep going another 15 if you're not finished yet. If you are finished, just relax, catch your breath. Very good. Okay. We are going to come up into a tall sitting position. So to do that, we're done with our sitting on our backs. Let's push our way up to a sitting position to where hopefully we can kind of see the camera, but sitting on our bottom with our legs either crisscross or legs outstretched or legs bent and feet flat. Hopefully we feel a good challenge to our core there, might feel our heart rate up. Let's now work on a roll up exercise. So that's going to be sitting here to begin, and you're going to think about just this start of imagine doing a sit up. We're just lowering down a little bit and then coming back. If you want to be sitting in a chair for this, that's okay too. We're essentially doing what we were doing with the cat-cow, where we're kind of sitting down, almost thinking about a tire rolling back behind you. We're doing a little bit of that and then coming back up. So sitting on the chair is an option, but sitting on the ground is going to be a good, more challenging option. So see if you can find a position here. I got my hands underneath my thighs to help support my back. But the movement we're going to do is a partial roll down. That roll down encourages us to get into that pelvic tilt, our low back moves, and then we can bring it on back. Each time we go, maybe we go a little bit further and then bring it on back. If the feet are working hard, if the hips are working hard, you can anchor your feet underneath a couch if you have that nearby. A partner, that they can hold on to your legs like that. Sometimes that anchor point can be useful. But for now, let's just do a couple more of these where we're rounding back and then sitting back tall. We should feel our abdominal muscles working here. And if this feels uncomfortable, maybe just don't go as far. We want to bend. We want to let our tire roll back as each vertebrae is placed. But if it feels uncomfortable, maybe you don't go as far. Maybe just notice how it feels today. And we'll do another 15 seconds or so, rounding back and then returning tall. The whole movement in Pilates, if you want to try it, is actually just lowering down all the way to the floor. However, that will require us to get all the way back into this kind of sit up. And the focus is each part of our spine lowering down all together. If this isn't an option for you today, we'll work towards it. For now, just focusing on that partial roll down can be really helpful. And we finish. Okay. Whew. There is our seated or supine stability exercise. The one that we'll save for the end is hundreds. So we'll do our articulating bridge and then our hundreds on our back. Let's go into kneeling. And in this case, kneeling on hands and knees. Again, if we need something under our legs, we can grab the mat and just put them underneath our knees. But for demonstration, I'm just going to have that to the side. And we'll have our hands right under our shoulders, our knees right under our hips. And the first move we'll do is breathe. Take a couple breaths here. Think about lengthening through the spine, top of the head to the tail, as long as it can be. Exhaling. See if that exhale encourages that core muscle group to activate. And then now we can add a cat-cow. So that cat-cow is going to be arching on an inhale, lowering our rib cage and our belly button towards the floor. And then on an exhale, we're rounding up towards the ceiling. Arching down on an inhale, grab some air. And then exhaling, remembering that we want all parts of our back moving. That includes our head and neck. It includes our mid-back. See if you can bring your chest and your breastbone forward. See if you can then also work on low back, pelvis, arch the back, stick the tailbone out, and then tuck it underneath. This is the cat position. This is the cow position. Just feel that good stretch in the back. And also time it with your breathing. Breathing should help you get a little bit further. And then a little bit further into the exhale. Very good. Moving right along. I'm changing my position, but I want you to kind of stay wherever you're at. Hopefully you can get a slight glimpse at the camera. We're going to do thread the needle exercise. Thread the needle asks us to put one hand on the ground. The other hand can either go behind the head or it can just be floating. I'm going to reach through the tunnel created by my planted hand, and then I'm going to reach up towards the ceiling on the open side. If the hand was behind the head, you reach with the elbow. Elbow reaches through the tunnel and then towards the ceiling. Let's go through that. People are looking good. I'm going to just adjust my camera. Good. Reaching through, threading the needle. Reaching overhead, pushing the ground away. We exhale as we reach through. Inhale as we reach up. Let's go through another maybe 15 seconds. Slow and controlled here. Think about each one of your spinal segments moving, kind of wringing out the towel in a different way. Keep the weight on both knees. Good. Finish up that side. And then we finish. Switch to the other side. Same thing, either hand behind head or hand floating, reaching through the tunnel, and then reaching overhead. Through the tunnel is an exhale. Overhead is the inhale. Inhale up, reach, wring the towel out. Exhale through. Fluid motion. Should feel this in the mid-back, but also my hands working. Trunk moving. Good. Let's go another 5 seconds. Finish up your last one. Inhale. Exhale. Meet back at the start. If you need to pause for a second, feel free to come off the hands, shake out the arms. We're going to do now our stability exercise, which is our bird dogs. Creating a little bit more space. For bird dogs, starting in the same position, hands below shoulders, knees below hips. Remembering that we just did cat-cow, we want to find somewhere right in the middle. So find somewhere that's neutral, thinking about kind of a subtle curve in the back, the mid-back, and then a subtle curve in the low back. Keep whatever neutral position works best for you. And we'll start with our bird dogs. Bird dogs is either an arm lift, an opposite arm lift. It's either a leg reaching back or the other leg reaching back, or for a level 3, it's both working at the same time, one leg and the opposite arm. The idea, though, is that you have a cup of water on the back of your head, cup of water on the back of your low back, and you want to keep those cups of water balanced. So get moving here. See if you can find a good flow, either starting with the arms for level 1, kicking out a leg for level 2, or level 3, both working at the same time, reaching as long as you can, keeping that chin tuck, keeping that belly button drawn into the spine. And we'll go for another 10 seconds or so. Good. Long corset action happening in the low back. If you get tired, maybe drop down a level. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Okay. We are going to come back to that for our final EMOM. So we'll leave it there and come back up to standing. So feel free to, at your own pace and with your own method, stand back up. Use a chair if you have to. Grab some water. I'm going to move my camera here. We're going to go through just 2 more standing exercises, and then we'll wrap it up with an EMOM. 8-minute EMOM towards the end, including 8 of the essential movements that we covered today in each of those areas. Should hopefully be feeling a good challenge, mainly in the core, but heart's beating. You're breathing heavy, hopefully a little bit too. And for our standing exercises, we are going to do 1 mobility and then 1 stability. The mobility exercise is a Jefferson curl. Jefferson curl is a forward bend that's 1 segment at a time. It's kind of like that roll up or roll down, but it's in standing. So in order to do that, you start at the top of your head. You tuck your chin, then the neck moves, the upper back, mid back, low back, and then pelvis. Coming back, it's bottom to top. Pelvis, low back, mid back, upper back, neck, and then chin untucked. So we're just going to go through a few of these. Go at your own pace. See how the body feels. If it feels uncomfortable at any point, maybe you work around that point. Maybe you work through that point, but only if it feels like it can respond to movement, to stretch. Of course, forward bending, we can do a lot of different ways. Maybe we don't round our back as much as we want because it's a little bit uncomfortable. But see if you can feel each one of your segments moving, coming back up. If it's uncomfortable, you can always use your hands just to kind of guide you, just to support you just a little bit. And then I want you to breathe with this as well. So inhaling to prepare, exhaling as you round down. Inhaling to prepare, exhaling as you stack back up. Okay, that is our Jefferson curl. Again, we'll do that in our EMOM at the end. Next, we'll do our stability exercise, which is a hip abduction. I want you to have something nearby to hold on to for balance. I have the wall near me, but for purposes here for demo, I'm just going to have be facing forward, but I'm holding on to something for balance, standing on one leg, kicking the leg out to the side and a little behind me. So it's a diagonal. From the side, it looks like this. It's not out to the side directly, but it's back behind me a little bit. So it's a diagonal. We should feel our core muscles working hard to keep our body tall. And that glute on the side that's kicking and the glute on the side that's standing up. So everything around here is working. We're going to go another 10 on this side. Keep yourself breathing. If you want to exhale, find that core contraction. Kind of working on balance here too. If you lighten the maybe just fingertips on the wall or just a light pressure on the wall. Good. Finish that side. Shake it out. Let's go right into the other side. Tall, hand on wall or chair for balance. And we're thinking about not arching, not tilting too much. We're staying tall. Core is tight. Kicking that leg out to the side and behind you. Another 5, 4, 3. Work at your own pace. 2, but you do want to move slowly, intentionally with enough control to keep your trunk upright. Okay, that just about does it for our introduction of all the moves that we will cover in EMOM, in this EMOM. We're going to just pick 2 in each position. So have that chair ready. We're going to start in the chair. We're going to do cat-cow and marches. We're going to move to the floor for articulating bridge and hundreds. We're going to get onto hands and knees for thread the needle and bird dogs. And then we're going to come back up to standing for Jefferson curl and hip abductions. I'll talk you through it. We'll go about a minute in each position and we'll finish right on time. This is going to be kind of our last workout together. So for today, so we'll stick around after for a little bit of cool down, but this will be kind of our bit of a cool down activity as well. Okay, so the 8 essential Pilates moves. Starting in sitting, I'm going to get my clock ready. We'll shoot for about a minute in each position. I'll probably cut us off at 50 seconds or so, and then think about kind of switching into that next move, especially when we're getting on and off the floor. Okay, let's do it. Starting with cat-cows. 3, 2, 1, and go. That cat is a rounding. Arms hugging a big tree in front of us. Inhaling to grow tall. Exhaling to round. Inhaling to grow tall. You might feel like you have a little bit more motion than you did this morning when we tried it or earlier today. Mobility of the spine, using our breath. Exhaling. Inhaling. Good. Squeeze those shoulder blades together as you open big. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Finishing that, we'll go straight into marches. Sitting marches, we have a few options. First, staying tall. Core is on. Legs are moving. We can add the opposite arm lift. We could put hands on head. We could put hands overhead if you're feeling adventurous. You can punch the opposite hand as the leg is lifting. Whatever it is, keep working here. Good. Punch or kick up. All those elements the same. Peaches held, belly button drawn in. Breathing is into the lateral rib cage. Core is working hard. We're going another 3, 2, 1, and relax. Let's move on to the floor. We're going to go into articulating bridges. Take your time getting down there, but with some urgency, folks. Let's do it. Onto the floor. Articulating bridge. laying on your back, feet flat. I'll give another 5 seconds or so before we start. Articulating bridge is going to be that pelvic tilt into each spinal segment lifting. Let's start in 3, 2, 1. Legs doing the work here, lifting up and then lowering top to bottom. Move on the exhale. If you need more air, you pause where you are, inhale some more, and then move on the exhale. Arms can be down by your side. Think about peeling away and then placing back, top to bottom. Another 10 seconds. Top to bottom. Good. Okay, relax there. We're going to stay in this position for the stability exercise, which is hundreds. Few options, hopefully lifting the head and neck, lifting the legs, or just one leg, or just keeping them back down. Hundreds, we're going to go for 100 flaps, 5 in, 5 out, starting in 3, 2, 1, and begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep it up. Another 10 seconds. Very good. Nicely done. Finish with that. Let's get back onto our hands and knees. So roll over. Just going to check the chat bar for something. Keep it up on hands and knees. Good. And let's go into our thread the needle. So thread the needle is, we'll do 30 seconds each side, reaching through and then overhead, starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. Reaching through and overhead. And exhaling through the tunnel. Inhaling, reaching up. Long exhales. We're wringing out the towel. And then wringing out the towel the other way. Use your breath to facilitate the movement as we finish one more here. And switch sides. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Good. One more. Biggest breath yet. Exhaling. Good. Moving right along to bird dogs. Stability exercise on all fours. Pick your challenge. Starting in 3, 2, 1. We have an arm lift and or a leg lift. Keep that imaginary cup of water on the back of your head and low back. Keep it from spilling. Remember that belly button drawn in feeling throughout. Grapefruit or peach squeezed under the chin. And the core should really be working now. Keep it up. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, And last one, finish. Okay, let's come back up into standing. Use your chair, use this kneeling position. We'll get another 10 seconds or so, 15 seconds to meet at the top. We're going to do 2 standing exercises and we'll be finished right after that. So finding your way to stand. First exercise, our mobility in standing is Jefferson curl. So 3, 2, 1, bending top to bottom, rolling each segment down. Coming back up, it's stacking each segment bottom to top. We move on the exhale. So inhale to prepare. Exhale, start our bend. When you're out at the bottom, you can inhale and then exhale as we round back up. Nice little active cool down here. Use our breath. Feel some tension melt away from the body. Hopefully these feel like you're getting farther and farther. Last one, coming back up. Good. Loose and limber. Each segment moving individually. Let's do a march to finish. This is our stability exercise. Standing march, or rather, I'm sorry, this is a hip abduction for our finish, which is kicking one leg out to the side, holding on to something for balance. Let's start that in 3, 2, 1, and we go. Core is on. Leg is kicking out to the side a little behind you. Good. Leading with the heel, keeping that toe facing forward. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, and switch sides. Core is still working. Think about that suspension from the ceiling. Peaches squeezed in the chin, belly button drawn in. Our last move for today. Let's finish it strong. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. So there is our Pilates class. We've just finished an 8-minute EMOM that includes 2 exercises at each position, mobility and stability. That's sort of like a movement snack that you can take and kind of add it to your day somewhere, either at the beginning of the day or the end of your day, somewhere in the middle where you feel like you need that little bit of a stretch or core activation. So take that, feel free to apply it to this week and see how it feels for you. Of course, for heart health, we want this combination approach of low intensity, high intensity, strength training. Pilates blends a few of those together, and hopefully you benefited from today's class and our journey through all these different positions, working against gravity to promote our spinal elongation, our articulation, our core control, and then thinking about our breath all throughout. Great job today. I'll stick around after if people have any questions. Apologies for going a little bit over time today, but hopefully that was a good experience for all of you. And we'll do it again soon. Next week, we'll have another EMOM, and looking forward to seeing you all there. All righty, take care, everybody.